Hello everybody, welcome back to Theje's Notebook Review. I seem to have recently stumbled upon the underworld of laptops where just a little bit of cash can get you a lot of PC. What I'm reviewing this time is the Dell Latitude E6230. Just like the Lenovo X220 I featured in my previous review, the E6230 is a 12-inch laptop with a small footprint, small price, and full-fledged Core i5 proc. It might not be Dell's latest and greatest offering, and it's still older than last year's model, but the value is screaming at you. Will it be good enough for your flexible PC needs? Let's find out. This, then, is the Dell Latitude E6230. They are widely available refurbished from $200 to $450. They mostly use the Intel Core i5-3320M CPU rated up to 2.6 GHz, the integrated Intel HD 3000 GPU, 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM, and a 500 gig 5400 RPM hard drive. These guts sit underneath a 12.5-inch 720p matte LCD screen and are driven by, in this case, the optional 9-cell lithium-ion battery that plays streaming media for over 4 hours and games for 1 hour and 20 minutes. And before you ask, the original 6-cell battery also protrudes just as far. The charging cable then uses a teeny tiny brick and extends 10 feet, which is really freaking long. As configured, I was able to get this notebook for a total of $250. Keep in mind there are also Core i7 models available around the $450 price point. Let's see what all those holes in the side do. On the right we have the express card slot, Wi-Fi toggle, 2 USB 3.0 ports, 1 powered, and the HDMI out. On the back is the LAN, lock slot, and power jack. And on the left is the VGA out, eSATA USB 2.0 combo port for a total of 3 USBs, headphone jack, the vent, a smart card reader, and an SD card slot. Since it's only a 12-inch notebook, you don't get an optical drive, but there is a SIM card slot inside the battery compartment. If that's not enough for you, then there are docking stations available that give you even more holes, like extra USB ports and video outs. Sadly though, no docking stations for this laptop have optical drives. The top of the Latitude has a brushed metal look with a lined plastic trim which attracts oil easily and is pretty hard to keep clean. Around the keyboard is near felt-like plastic that's hard to smudge and isn't smooth, but is mighty comfy to glide your finger across and produces good friction. The bottom panel comes off quick with just one screw and uncovers the entire underside. On this particular model there is an open memory slot and the Wi-Fi card and hard drive can be easily swapped out. Notice that the hard drive is encased in a rubberized caddy for noise reduction and a little bit of impact protection. The wireless end card on the E6230 performs admirably and always gives me 5 bars in my room where other wireless end notebooks, and sometimes even my desktop, can fall to 4 bars. The keyboard on the Dell will take some getting used to, no doubt about it. It's good in its own right, but it needs more force to press down the keys than the typical chiclet affair, and there is a stifled, throaty click to the action. Once you're used to it, the E6230 will reliably cough up the inputs, and the dedicated home and page scrolling keys will greatly benefit the user. It's also unlikely that the labels on the keys will succumb to wear or fading. One accessory that might be needed, though, is an external 10-key numpad. The touchpad on the Latitude isn't half bad. It has separated physical keys and multi-gesture support, but the surface area is relatively small and the texture is a bit rough. This touchpad has also developed some physical deformations with a couple bumps that resemble pimples on the surface. That can't be a good sign, however, I haven't noticed any degradations in performance. Finally, the size and placement of the touchpad prevents Dell from putting in a pointy nub, which I do miss coming from the Lenovo X220. The display on the Latitude isn't anything special. The color balance is slightly warm and the screen gets comfortably bright and dim, but not extra bright or extra dim. Also, the viewing angles are rather narrow and the tilt angle isn't wide enough for comfortable use on your lap. The speakers here are actually not half bad as far as laptop speakers go. The volume is pretty good and the range is plentiful. It doesn't get as loud as a 17-inch Sager behemoth, but it gets louder and more clear than most of the 15-inch notebooks I've reviewed, and at least plays the bass from Calm Like a Bomb by Rage Against the Machine, and the deep bass from A Perfect Circle's The Package is audible in the higher notes. MP3 boomboxes will still easily stifle this little fella, but it will hold its own during a presentation and can fill a room. The system performance of this 12-inch Dell is pretty good. There was very little bloatware on the original Windows 7 Pro installation, and web browsing is quite speedy thanks to the lower 720p resolution and full-fledged Ivy Bridge Core i5. Loading times, though, are still long for applications and games thanks to the 5400 RPM hard drive and lack of dedicated VRAM. On to gaming. The only games you can play on the E6230 are those that are plenty old or very scalable, like Blizzard's offerings. You can also forget about playing Counter-Strike GO competitively. Sure, it looks smooth in the video, but in tense situations with smoke and more than one opponent on the screen, your frame rate will drop to 30 or below, which spells danger for Twitch gameplay mechanics. During gameplay, the fan barely makes any noise and can be drowned out by even a quarter speaker volume, but the Dell does get considerably hot and takes its sweet time to cool down after a return to the desktop. For the bottom line, the Latitude E6230 cannot be denied in its segment for the extreme value and quality presentation. It's durable, functional, and widely available for very little and can easily handle the general PC user experience. Throw some desktop-sized peripherals in there with a USB hub and an external monitor, and you're off to a running start for a great, silent desktop setup. In conclusion, students get a thumbs up. The keyboard is very nice once you're used to it, it weighs practically nothing, and the battery lasts forever. And if it doesn't last you for forever, you can buy a second battery and it'll still be easy to carry around. Gamers can stay away, unless you're like me and you already have a decent desktop machine, because this little guy is my perfect mobile companion and I loves it. Not to play games on or bring to LAN parties, but when you're at the shop getting the EGR valve replaced on your car, there's nothing better than being able to play all the way through Super Metroid even though you forgot your power cable at home. A win. Desktop replacement users can forget about it, unless you know for sure you can get by without dedicated graphics. If that's the case, then by all means throw an SSD in there, plug in all your peripherals, and go crazy. Heck, if you use a USB recording interface, this thing would be perfect for audio production. Perfect. Home users can feel free to click the buy button unless you want something with a larger screen. This is more of a road warrior kind of deal, and when you want to stream some video on the couch, it's much nicer to have a bigger display. This has been a review of the Dell Latitude E6230 here on Theje's Notebook Review. Go ahead and thumbs me up, subscribe to my channel, and share this video on your preferred social media outlet. Thanks for watching, and you guys have a good night.